Welcome to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista, probably the most entertaining marketing podcast you're going to put in your ears. I'm Vin, the associate producer here at Stirista. The goal of this podcast is to chat with industry leaders and get their take on the current challenges of the market. And we'll have a little fun along the way. In today's episode, Vincent and Ajay have a chat with John Busby, Chief Marketing Officer and Managing Director at Centerfirled. He talks about capturing first-party data from customers and brands and how brands look for long-term customer relationships. Vincent visits San Antonio again, and AJ feels like the month between visits felt a little too long. Give it a listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Stirista's The Marketing Stir. I, of course, am your host of The Marketing Stir, Vincent Petrofessa, also the Vice President of B2B Products and Partnerships here at Stirista. It is so nice to be talking to you once again. Let's talk about Stirista just for a quick moment here. Who are we? Well, we're a marketing technology company. We focus on identity. We have our own business-to-business database. We have our own business-to-consumer databases. Customers utilize us to target those databases. Email marketing. We have our own DSP called Adster. We can do connected TV. We can do display, all in an effort to get you some new customers. That sounds great, doesn't it? Email me at vincent@stirista.com. That is how confident I am that I can help you. I just gave my email out to all of you. The other thing I'm confident in, two things, today's guest, as well as my commander-in-chief, my CEO, ladies and gentlemen, from San Antonio, Mr. Ajay Gupta. What's going on, Ajay?
Hey, Vincent. Normally you're more confident in me than the guest, so this is a welcome change.
I know, that's it. I knew you would pick up on that. That's why I said I'm keeping you on your toes. I cannot wait. I'm coming down to San Antonio once again to see the great people there, the great teammates that I have. Are you excited about that, AJ?
That should be really fun. I think we are long overdue, even though we just saw each other last month. It feels like a long time. So.
See, I like that. I like that. I love that enthusiasm. What's been going on? How's everything in San Antonio? Keep me posted. Let me know. What's up?
Yeah, no, things are good. School restarted here, so it's I've never really understood why schools start as early as they do. So I have to make some adjustments now to wake up a little bit earlier, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yep, I know. My son, he started his 4-year-old program. He goes to a school here in Manhattan, the Tribeca Community School. Shout out to them. Maybe they'll give me a discount on my tuition. They won't, but let's at least try to give him a shout out. No, it's good. He's really excited about it. We're in the process. We were picking out new gear, fresh gear. He's already trying to dress himself. I'm like, that's my son. I love it. I love it.
Hey, this is the second time you've mentioned a company name. I feel like you might have some sponsors on the side.
Yes, the other day I mentioned Custom Men. That's my custom suit guy. But no, I know I have my own sponsors. We don't have sponsors of the show because we say no. It's for the time being. We're looking for the right. But anyway,
yeah, we're like an early stage Facebook. It's too cool to have ads.
Too cool right now, then maybe later. But no, Tribeca Community School is definitely not a sponsor because I am paying them very much a lot of money for my son to attend school, more than my college cost. I don't know what that says, but anyway, so no, that's Custom Men. There might be, I mentioned that they do great work. Do they throw me a discount? Maybe. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it. But anyway, let's get to, again, why I'm so confident in today is our guest, ladies and gentlemen. We are very happy to have him from Centerfirled. Heard of them? Yes. If not, you'll hear more about them. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a warm marketing stir welcome for the Chief Marketing Officer and Managing Director at Centerfirled, John Busby. What's going on, John?
Hey, Vincent. Hey, AJ. How are you?
Awesome. Hanging in there. This is my first day back from a long vacation. Not a vacation. I went to go visit my wife's grandmother. Not a vacation. She's 95 years young. Happy to see her. Shout out to Pauline. She's not a sponsor for sure, but it's great. How's everything with you?
It's going good. I have a similar last couple of weeks as you guys. My daughter started middle school this morning. So there's a lot of
Nice.
excitement about that. My son doesn't start until next week, but he's really into hockey, ice hockey. I am too. So he's been asking me to do workouts in the morning. So we did a workout this morning. I'm all energized and ready to go. The blood is flowing, the blood is pumping. And I'm up here in my attic of my Seattle home. Still morning here, so all is well.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for waking up early with us. Well, yeah, you were already at it. My son, maybe I dread the point when my son is like, "Hey dad, let's have a workout." I'm like, I don't know if I'm a fan of that, but it's great. It's bonding. Well, what's your favorite hockey team?
Well, Seattle is about to get a NHL team.
Come on. I
Yeah,
didn't hear that.
called the Kraken. Yep, it's the
Oh,
first.
wow.
The first year is this year. So I grew up outside of Chicago, was a Blackhawks fan, but I'm switching allegiances. I've been in Seattle for 20 years, and I'm just going all in on the Seattle teams.
Well, 20 years that's good. That's allowable. I think it's 20 years. That's the same thing I'm kind of feeling. I used to root for the Chicago Bulls growing up. I'm from New York, and you're not supposed to do that when you're from New York because the Knicks are here and the people love the Knicks. But I feel like my living in Manhattan, my son, I feel like we're going to go to a lot of Brooklyn Nets games because they're less expensive than the Knicks games, and it's just there. So I put in my time. Who knows? I still like Chicago. You got to stay with Chicago, even though they were amazing in the 90s. Not so great since, but so I'll allow it. I'll allow it. Enough about this sports talk. We're losing my co-host AJ on it. Unless we're talking about tennis, we lose him a little bit, John, but I could talk for hours about it. But let's get right into it because I want our guests to really know you first and then the company second. But let's talk about Centerfield. For those people who are listening and they don't know about Centerfield, talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, thanks, Vincent, for the question. Just as an aside, AJ, if you want to talk tennis later, I became obsessed about a year ago, and I could use some pointers in my game. I'm also starting a mixed doubles league with my wife, which I'm feeling like is going to be good for our marriage, but who knows if we get too competitive.
Hey, John, I'll just warn you, mixed doubles leagues are not good for marriages. So
okay.
You heard it here first.
I've been warned. We'll see on season 3 then how things are faring. So thanks for asking about Centerfield. We are a customer acquisition company. We acquire customers on behalf of brands that like AT&T, Clover, Spectrum, Amazon Web Services, Home Depot, Medical Guardian. So what does that mean? Brands pay Centerfield, they pay us on a performance basis to acquire customers via paid search, social media, and then our own websites. So just like in the travel industry, Expedia has its own website where hotels and travel companies pay a bounty for signups through Expedia. We have the same thing on our own websites like business.com or broadbandnow.com that reach 100 million folks a year. So we're not an agency. Our clients pay us per acquisition or a percentage of the revenue we generate for them. In terms of, you asked the outside, have you heard of Centerfield? We're not yet a household name, but we're big. Before I joined Centerfield, just before, we were in a best places to work competition in Los Angeles, and we won an award for small companies. And just this past month, we received the same award, but this time in the large company category. So we're really proud of that. We have more than 1,000 employees and revenue well into the 9 figures. In terms of what I do, my team's responsible for creating conversations with prospective clients, so like traditional corporate marketing stuff. And then also I have a team that is responsible for content, editorial, and research for all of our owned and operated websites like business.com or security.org.
Yeah, and thanks for that background, John. And lastly, I do want to, from my first set of questions here, you talked about your role, but how did you get into marketing? We'd love to ask that on the Marketing Stir. We have a lot of people either trying to get into marketing career as students or changing their careers. Talk to me about your path.
Yeah, thanks for that question. I haven't had a 20-year career in marketing. And so if you're interested in marketing, you don't have to start in marketing in day one. I like to say that I have 20 plus years of experience in marketing, product, and analytics. I started my career during the dot-com boom and moved to California, took a job as a second full-time employee outside of the co-founders at a startup called IQ Chart. And we were focused on real-time stock charts, which are all over now. but previously you had to get like this computer terminal and like a dedicated connection, pay $1,000 a month for that. We were offering it at $30. And I remember my first job interview, I actually really had never had a job before. And they gave me 30 minutes to write a press release, which was really easy for me because I was a pretty good writer. And in college, I participated in debate. So like, that's all I did. And they were pretty happy. And they hired me on the spot, and I moved to California and was off and running. In terms of like I learned right away what I like to do. I really didn't know what I was in for. I ended up doing everything that wasn't technical. I wrote every page of our website, did external comms. There was a phone in the server room that rang a couple times a day. I asked what that was. They said, that's our phone number, we don't answer it. So I became the head of customer service too. And in the next year we were acquired, and I learned a couple things. Number one is I love to write things. And so I loved writing all the website copy. I loved trying to get press. And then I also love to use data to make decisions and decide what to focus on. So those are like the seeds on which my career has been based. My start in B2B marketing, which I guess is what I do now, came by way of research and product management. So fast forward about 10 years, I was running product at an advertising measurement company called Marchex. I'd been doing product for about a decade, and we were entering a new category. That category was called call tracking or call analytics, basically attributing phone calls from digital marketing. And a lot of digital marketers really didn't know what that was. And so I recommended that we start an industry research internally called the Marchex Institute that was designed to study the space and publish research. So like content marketing, that kind of thing. We ended up using the research for pretty much everything in sales and marketing, and it eventually became our marketing strategy. So I ended up running marketing, learned on the fly, did that for about 5 years. And then after a very cool detour at Amazon's grocery division, in analytics and marketing strategy, I joined Centerfield, where I get to do things now that I really love and I think help the company.
And John, specifically talking about lead generation, how do you view lead generation, especially when it comes to targeting? What are some of the tools that you guys are using?
Well, in terms of B2B targeting, or sort of like B2B lead generation, so prospects that we want to become customers, we're doing a lot of top of funnel virtual events, kind of like this podcast, I guess, in a way, where we have really interesting industry conversations about first party data or customer acquisition or lead generation. And in industries that our prospects care about, we have those conversations, and then by virtue of people attending those things, they generally say, oh, you guys seem pretty smart, maybe you could help us out, and we start our conversations that way. Beyond that, we have a marketing stack of Pardot and Salesforce and whatnot to do our email nurture campaigns and tracking and all of that. But in terms of lead generation for end consumers, that's a very technology driven thing for us. Our entire service runs on a platform that we call Dugout, which is end-to-end customer acquisition. We've built it at Centerfield over the last 10 years. It's all homegrown, and it tracks users from click through to conversion and leverages a bunch of first party data to make conversion work. And I'm happy to go into more detail on that if you like.
Yeah, we love talking about first party data. So we'd love to know, what are some of the things you're capturing? What are some of the data points and data assets you guys have?
Yeah, so I'll talk mostly about acquiring a customer for a brand like, like AT&T or ADT Home Security, and what we use for that. So as you know, marketing isn't incredibly competitive, and unless you have really, really good first party data, it's very difficult to do digital customer acquisition at scale. So like, let's imagine that you're competing in Google for a term like best home security system. There are like 10 brands and 10 aggregators and all these other like big publishers who desperately want that traffic and are willing to pay Google for that, or willing to invest in SEO to show up in organic results. And if we're able to convert customers that come to our site just a little bit better than everyone else, then we can afford to pay more or invest more. And we found that when we collect certain first party data from consumers, we're much more likely to convert that customer, and it gives us a super competitive advantage when we're trying to buy media. So like, let's imagine you're searching for internet. You live in Los Angeles, you want a new internet service provider. I mentioned my fiber internet was down today, so maybe I'll be doing that a little bit later if they can't fix it. So we want to collect certain things from every consumer. We want to know their location. We want to know if they're into gaming or streaming or care about sports or where they live. And we use all of this data to improve the online and the offline experience. That's really our bread and butter, and why we're successful.
And John, you touched upon it there as well. You mentioned some, amazing telecommunications companies. What are those brands really looking for when it comes to leads? What makes an ideal lead for them? What are some of the tactics you're using, without revealing the secret sauce, but would love to hear more about that.
Well, I think in terms of what telecommunications brands are looking for, I think they're looking for long-term customer relationships. And so not someone who's going to sign up for internet and phone and cancel in 30 days or not activate or something like that. And so I mentioned our business model is performance-based. And so if it's up to us, we don't want to be paid for a new customer acquisition. We want to be paid for a new customer acquisition after 90 days or after they activate, or pay back the money if the customer cancels within 90 days or 120 days. We want our incentives to be 100% aligned with the marketers that we work with. So that part's super important. We're laser focused on awesome, loyal customers. In terms of like the factors that the factors that help close customers, just to get a little bit deeper into the first party data, and why I think you know this at Stirista, why it's so important, is there isn't a single internet brand that covers everybody in the United States. It doesn't work that way. Even the biggest internet service provider only covers 50 or 60% of the population. And so you must know down to the neighborhood which providers are available. So you collect first party data about where someone is, and then having really good data about what internet options are truly available is a major criteria in conversion. And then intent is really important too. And that's why we collect things like why do we think you're here? Can the search query tell us why you're searching for internet, like you're interested in gaming or high speed or fiber or whatever? If you offer too slow of a package, that can be a turnoff, or too expensive of a package can be a turnoff also. So first party data really helps us here. Another example in internet is like, we've learned that someone who's really into sports should be offered different products than someone who's not really into sports. So we have to find a way to get that data. And once we do, we're much better at acquiring customers on behalf of our brand partners.
And John, I want to shed some more light on Centerfield. You mentioned that, and thanks for going in depth there on the telecom clients that you have. But let's talk about ideal clients for Centerfield, right? I want to get you out there because I know you're doing some great work. Ideal clients, what are some of the targets that you guys are focusing on who could really take advantage of Centerfield services? And is that the targets that you're going after as CMO? Are you building to get some awareness that way within those targets, or are you helping the customers that you do have market their services to get new customers? If that all makes sense.
Yeah. So internally, in terms of what I do on the corporate marketing side, I'm not doing the media buying. That's a different team. What I do, my team does, is create content and editorial for our owned and operated websites. And then I also help on the corporate marketing side in two ways. One, for our existing customers, letting them know about the other products and services that we offer, so we can do more work with them. And then also in categories or industries where we don't have deep penetration, is it's telling our story, communicating how we can help a prospect, and hopefully having them become long-term customers of ours. You could think of us as having four divisions, if you will, or one is residential services, so like internet, TV, home phone, home security, that kind of thing. Second is consumer services. So we own a property called savings.com where you can get coupon codes and discounts on goods and services across. So consumer services is another one. Insurance is a third. We just acquired a company called Datalot, who's a leader in the insurance space. And then we also do senior products and services as well. So we have a lot of clients and customers that we can serve. Oh, I should have mentioned business to business as well. So what are we looking for, or to enter a vertical? Usually our clients sell high consideration products and services. Internet, phone, home security, medical devices, credit card processors, that kind of thing. They're not cheap. You have to sign a contract generally, or it's going to be a lot of money. And so consumers really want to have more information to make a good decision. And they want to make sure that they get a good deal from a product or service that they can trust. So that's really what we help with. And also, first party data is much more helpful when there's a high consideration product or service. If something's cheap, you'll just kind of buy it. Something's more expensive, you need help.
Jen, I actually heard about Centerfield for the first time when my friend Callie Tran, who introduced us, joined Centerfield. And like what you said earlier, I had no idea how big you guys were until I looked him up on LinkedIn when he joined. And I'm like, wow, this is a good company, household name, or should be, that on its way. So I'd love to know, what you attribute your company's success to and how the growth trajectory is looking.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. Callie's been with us probably 6 months now, and he's been amazing to work with. And I'm glad that you and I was able to be introduced to you through him. So what do I attribute our success to? One is our business model, for sure. That I've always had a thesis, and I think our co-founders, Brett and Jason, have always had this thesis that advertising is going to move to completely performance-based. And I'm sure you've seen in your time in advertising, when your incentives aren't totally aligned, something goes haywire. So the business model is really key. Second, it's definitely our technology platform. When you're responsible for acquiring customers for a brand, you've got to have technology, measurement technology, that kind of thing. And we tried to use third-party point solutions over the last 10 years. We've never been able to get them all to sort of be stitched together. And so we've made a massive investment in technology over the last 10 years, really with kind of three foundations built into the technology. One is to provide customers with choice. that means they need to be able to buy online, by phone, by chat, by text, any way a consumer wants to interact with us or with the brand, we need to be able to do. Second is we need to provide customers with a reason to buy, whether it's a promotion, a deal, or a call to action. I'm sure, Vincent, you know this, you got to ask for the sale, right? And so we really learned how to do that and do that in an automated way. And then third is have a relevant, consistent experience. I don't know if you've ever been on a website, you're looking at a deal, you're looking at products, you call someone or you go into the store, and it's like it's apples and oranges. And so we've made a really deliberate effort to make sure that anything offline matches what we do online. So technology is like the second leg of the stool. And then the third leg of the stool is definitely our culture and our people. We have an amazing culture at Centerfield. It's really fun to work there. It's very entrepreneurial, and everyone at the company has a lot of autonomy and the ability to fail fast, and which is not punished, is rewarded. And so all those reasons, I could babble, I suppose, for another 5 minutes, but that's the gist of it.
And John, with the kind of the number of web properties you have, is that something you continuously look to add more via acquisitions, and I'm sure there's a considerable effort to promote those existing properties as well, right?
That's right. When I joined Centerfield, we actually didn't have any meaningful organic owned and operated properties. We primarily generated leads and customers through paid search, and that was like phase one of Centerfield. And phase two of Centerfield was we have all of these customers coming in through our own paid search properties, and they're not converting as much as we wish they would. And so we acquired a call center company called Qology based in Florida, which allowed us to answer the phone. And we now have a world-class call center that converts really well. And then we said, okay, well, we don't want to pay for all of our traffic. And so let's start dipping our toes into organic owned and operated websites. And we purchased this property called Broadband Now, which is a website where you can find and compare local internet service providers. And after a year or two of upgrading the content and doing some SEO stuff and getting a lot of press for the site, it grew a lot. In terms of users, in terms of profitability. We said, we think we're onto something. And so since then, we've acquired assets in home security, physical security, and digital security in senior savings.com, which I mentioned, business.com. And I think that we'll maintain an aggressive strategy here because we feel like we can really help consumers with these sites. And we're also good at taking sites which have a footprint and growing them.
John, I wanted to talk about, you mentioned it was something that was on my mind. You talked about the insurance based marketing, just the acquisition there. Talk to me about that acquisition, and because I feel like the insurance business needs to change, right? I think it needs to inject some technology into it. I also feel that the pandemic allowed people or forced people to look at different types of insurance differently. And I think that's an area that's kind of, going up. So talk to me about that acquisition and the importance of it to add to the portfolio there.
Yeah, I agree with the pandemic causing us all to look at our credit card statements and say, how am I thinking about insurance or streaming TV or whatever. So we definitely see that with consumers. Insurance is a very attractive category to be a part of, because it's an expensive product that every adult needs. And so if you have a solution to acquire insurance customers, that's very valuable. Insurance is a category that's high consideration, like I talked about before. And so we were always envious of that category, wanted to get into it, but it was difficult to start from scratch. So we acquired a company that we're really, really pumped about. It's called Datalot, based in Brooklyn. And they are a leader in customer acquisition and lead generation for insurance companies. And it's not just auto insurance, which gets most of the advertising. It's home, life, Medicare, and so on. We feel really lucky to have been able to bring Datafield into the Centerfield fold. The founder, Josh, is a longtime friend of one of our co-founders, Jason. And we feel like Datalot has the same DNA as us. One is they're performance-based, so their clients pay strictly for outcomes. That's like it's a must for us. Second is they're technology-based. So we convert better because we've invested in understanding what a consumer wants, whether it's more coverage or more savings or whatever, and linking them to the right company. And then third, the culture and attitude of the company and all of my new colleagues. We want to grow through delivering for customers. Like that's the main focus, and that's really fun and infectious to be a part of.
Yeah. And it's a fun company in Brooklyn. You can't beat that. New York, love it. So, John, talk to me about, we mentioned it, right? And it's kind of still the elephant in the room, right, with the pandemic. But I think a lot of our listeners always love hearing the stories of how companies adapted and got through it and how they coped with the employees. But talk to us about the last year, operations wise, how you kind of go to market to look for customers. How did the pandemic alter that for you? Were you big in conferences in person? Shed some light on that for us.
Yeah, that's a great question. We're going all the way back to the beginning of the pandemic. First, I was freaked out, like what's going to happen with advertising dollars, what's going to happen with sales, with everything. And there are a couple of things that we started to understand in the first 60 days. One is that our tight customer relationships were tight, and it felt and seemed like they were going to stay tight. On the other hand, like brand new sales felt like they were going to be difficult. Like if you want to work with a major brand and don't have any relationship or just a casual relationship, you don't have a trade show or an in-person meeting to break the ice. And so that was something that we really had to think about. And then on the flip side, and I'll get into our solution in a minute, we found that creating a relationship through really good content and research is working. And so our focus now is creating really great content in virtual events and focusing on what attendees are going to learn, and that's working. Like sometimes when we were running events or going to trade shows or whatever, it's like, how can we speak to 1,000 different people? But now we're getting very targeted. So let's say we want to get to know marketers in higher education, which is a category that Centerfield's in. We'll do a virtual event specifically on the marketing tactics of higher education. We'll get down super deep, super specific, and have a great conversation like the one that we're having today about what's going on right now. And we're not worried about whether or not we have 200 attendees. We want 25 attendees. We want to be really intimate, and we want to show that we can have an intelligent conversation about the problems that they're thinking through, and then hopefully that'll lead to a deeper conversation. And this actually proved to work for us. So that's the major thing for us in terms of the corporate marketing side of things.
John, what do you guys do to keep people who are filling out forms on the websites or signing up, to keep them engaged throughout the process? And how long do you keep them on your subscriber lists?
Well, one of the things that we want to do is when someone's on like a landing page of ours, we want to have some type of interactive or gamified experience, so that someone feels like they're giving information and getting more information back. So we feel at that time we've started to create this first party data relationship where if the consumer comes back in the future, we can pick up where we left off. So conceivably we can have this almost asynchronous relationship that can get back to where it was right away. Like when you're connecting with best friend you haven't talked to in a while. But what we also do is offer consumers a lot of choice. So we try to encourage consumers to chat with us, to give our call center a call, or even give us the opportunity to shoot them an SMS or give them a call when we have something interesting to say. So we're very active and aggressive in trying to create a long-term relationship for our customers and brands. Now, when we're doing something on behalf of a brand, and someone signs up, that's essentially their customer. Gotcha. And so we're not reusing that data in any other way, but we're trying to keep that lead hot or warm to get them to buy the product that our brand partners sell.
Got it. And John, if we understand your model correctly, it is largely based on performance. So it sounds like they pay if you find them customers. Is that the right way of looking at?
That's exactly right. We can be sometimes paid on the lead, but that's not really what we prefer. We want to be paid if someone buys the product, because then we know that our client is happy, and also our client's likely to be able to pay the most money for that as well. And we're even happier when we have a relationship where we're paid like if someone stays a customer for a long time, because then we can get paid even more per referral, and our marketing partners are the happiest. So like everybody's happy.
That's awesome, John. I know it's a hard model to make work, and the fact that you guys are doing it at scale tells me that something is going very well for your clients. So
thanks.
And John, before I'm going to get into some other questions, some of our staple questions here before, then AJ gets into, more of the personal side. You can talk tennis, but there's a few questions that we have. One of them is our staple. People write to us all the time saying, we love this question. So LinkedIn, people utilize it for a variety of different purposes, marketing purposes, especially sales purposes. Someone of your title, you must get a lot of LinkedIn messages. What's a LinkedIn message that resonates with you and says, you know what, I'll take that meeting, I'll respond? And what are some of your pet peeves that you just hate that you never respond to?
I've been wanting to get this off my chest for a long time. So.
This is welcome to the Marketing Stir. We have the virtual couch. You can get it up. Yeah.
So you're right. I receive about 50 to 100 solicitations per day, whether it's email or link. That's not all LinkedIn. I mean, most of that's email, but a lot of solicitations. And I'm curious if you all have the same pet peeve that I do. So I get a lot which are like 15 minutes of your time, or can I call you at 1 p.m. today? And I literally do not understand. I don't understand how those convert. If maybe they work for you guys, maybe there's just some kind of thing that other people have unlocked that I haven't figured out to unlock yet. But non-specific subjects and long intros are huge turnoffs for me. If you're trying to reach me, I'm gonna look at like 10 or 15 words max, and then just go to the next thing. And so, like, let's say that I want help creating and producing a podcast. Like that's something in the back of my mind that I want. The perfect title for me is "We Produce B2B Podcasts. Can we help you?" Like, yeah. I'm gonna read the first sentence of the email, and then, or the LinkedIn message, and then if the first sentence is like this long kind of mysterious thing, I'm just like, I'm gonna pass. And if they tell me really quickly why they're good, then then I will respond. So that's my pet peeve. That's my recommendation. And I get so many emails on LinkedIn kind of like trying to like do weird guilt things Did you get these too?
No, well, sometimes, but I want to hear more. This is good.
But it's like I guess you're not interested, or that
I've
kind of
offended you. Yeah, right. Something like that.
Or they say I know your time is precious. Okay. And so I appreciate that, but like it's kind of is this an ironic thing where me reading the sentence, I know your time is precious, is wasting my time. And so just go in there and tell me what you want. If it's something that I need, I will respond.
No, I like that. I love the first sentence has to pique my attention. It's kind of like, you always hear like content or videos, you have to get it right there. Resumes, right? When people look at resumes, oftentimes they're not looking at the entire thing, right? It has to be there. I agree. Those ones where I'll respond to people. So just this morning, this is the third email I received, and they called me VicNet, not Vincent, VicNet. They actually, turned it around. And hey, I just want to get this top of your blah, 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 blah. I said, I'm not interested. And by the way, it's Vincent, not VicNet. Winky face, something like that. I don't know if I even put that, but I was just like, come on, it's not that hard 3 times. So yeah, it's little things like that, but I'll respond just to let them know. But yeah, you're right. It has to be, short to the point, or I also love, hey, I listen to your podcast. Love you guys. Well, I'm listening. Now I'm listening. So
flattery goes a long way with Vincent.
Sure does. It sure does.
Oh, big time. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Give me some compliments.
Yeah, right. That doesn't hurt. I'm listening. You like compliments too, AJ. Who are you kidding? That flattery works with you too.
Me?
But John, another one. So kind of, awesome career thus far, a variety of different aspects of your career. Talk to us. This is like, again, we get deep here. Shining moment of the career thus far. The highlight, shining moment.
Oh gosh. I don't know. One of my happiest moments was really, really early in my career. I don't know why this one just comes to mind, but I was at this startup. We were doing real-time stock charts, and we didn't really have any marketing presence. And do you remember I think it's still around, but the newspaper called Barron's? It's like a weekly.
Oh yeah. Barron's annual. There's the annual report.
Yeah, it's like
too.
a sister publication of the Wall Street Journal or whatever. And I was at a trade show, and I recognized the person's name. She wrote this review column for individual investors, I guess, at Barron's. And I was a young kid, 23 or something like that. And I hustled and got in front of her and told her about our product IQ chart. She ended up writing a review in Barron's, a full page review on the product. And it really made a lasting imprint on me that things like knowing your data. I knew who she was. I knew what she wrote about. I had done sort of my research. Hustle, I had to work up the guts to go and talk to her. And then third, being a clear communicator in terms of what I wanted, why we were special, why she might want to write about us. And I go back to that story quite a bit because I feel like those things are what are most likely to produce successful results in a career. And so I've had a lot of great times at Centerfield. A couple of years ago, we were purchased by Platinum Equity. That was a really great moment, a culmination of a lot of hard work by our co-founders and everybody that I work with. Broadband Now growing, all that stuff's been really cool. But I tend to go back to that story.
John, just time for one more question. So I know we discussed earlier you got into tennis recently. Would love to know a little bit more on your personal side. What do you like to do for fun? What have you been up to during the pandemic?
Yeah, so something I really like to do is I mentioned working out with my son in the mornings, doing hockey. I coach and I play hockey myself. So I'm generally out on the ice 2 or 3 times a week with my son's team or my daughter's team, and then I play hockey. And then during the pandemic, my wife's been in tennis for like 5 or 6 years, and I started to play with her, and all of a sudden this light switch went off. I'm not sure why I wasn't like into tennis before, but then I became like crazy obsessed with it, and I try to play every day. It's so fun. I've never played an individual sport before. I've always played these team sports. And then I think the last category is I like to think like I can pick football games and play poker. Like I like both of those things a lot. But I think that the better way to describe me in those categories is like a barely competent amateur. So, so those are more like for entertainment, but probably like a lot of people, I think like I'm really good at picking football games, but I think I'm probably pretty average.
That's awesome. No, I love hearing that. And especially the hockey with the kids, getting up and doing that. I love that Seattle's getting a team. I really didn't know that. I did not know that they're getting a new, so that'll be something to go with the kids too, and take them. The Kraken, what a great name, as in Release the Kraken. That's, I already, maybe the episode we call it Release the Kraken. That'd be cool. I'm kidding. Maybe, who knows? Anyway, John, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. It's been awesome getting to know you these past couple weeks leading up to this, and of course today. Thanks to Callie for helping put this together. Love what you're doing at Centerfield. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Marketing Officer and Managing Director at Centerfield, John Busby. I'm Vincent Petrofessa. That's Ajay Gupta. This has been another episode of The Marketing Stir. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista. Please like, rate, and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com. And thanks for listening.